sometimes I find myself at 1 o'clock in the afternoon still wearing my pajama pants and, haven't taken a shower yet because I haven't had to leave the house. But, at the same time, you have to be good about separating your work from your home life because it's easy to get caught up in working until 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night.
You are now listening to the Artist King Podcast.
This is DTM of DeltaTangoMike.com, and this is the Artist King Podcast, episode number 91, featuring the artist interview with Noel Saabye. Please take the time to download the Artist King Podcast in your favorite platform and listen anytime. We would like to hear your opinions and suggestions, so please direct your comments to dtm@artistking.org. The Artist King Podcast is available on your iPad and iPhone through the App Store. The Artist King Podcast is made possible by the support of our sponsors. You can find them on the partners page at artistking.org, and they include the law offices of Deborah Gonzalez, VelocityScreenPrint.net, RevolveSkate.com, Southside Sickest, Mix Manny Beats, The Biz Garage, and AzaleaCreativeGroup.com. Noel Saabye is a veteran animator, artist, designer, and art business mentor. He's the organizer of the Comic and Animation Artists of Atlanta, a once-a-month meetup where local animators and artists get together and share their current projects and thoughts about the business. We sat down for a good hour, and Noel shared his story and his 20-year animation experience with us. Follow him on social media and check out his website at facebook.com/Atlanta Artist, twitter.com/NSAABYE, and his website noelsaabye.com. Now on to our artist interview with Noel Saabye.
Noel Saabye, originally from the suburbs of St. Paul, Minnesota. Spent the past 20 years as a 2D traditional animator. That kind of morphed into Flash and games. And so at this point, it's kind of whatever a client throws at me.
Okay.
So,
like what kind of stuff are clients throwing at you?
Sometimes it's whether it's a mobile game or Flash game for Flash is getting phased out, but video games for web. Currently, I'm working on a project where it's just some animation on a website for a client, where it's just going to be a character running across the screen of their site. So I kind of get a variety of things. This past summer, I did a wrap for a food truck. And so design their logo, design their character, all of their social media graphics, the wrap, and then that was followed up with a friend of theirs that loved it so much that they hired me to do all their logo stuff for their upcoming, it's kind of a restaurant, bar, music hall kind of place. So
Very nice.
Yeah, so, it kind of varies.
It's good. It's good to have so many different avenues of finding business and the talent to follow through on that business, so you stay pretty busy.
Yeah, and it keeps you fresh.
Yes.
When you're, because if you're always doing the same work, you just kind of get burnt out on it. This way, it's different styles, different clients. It was fun to kind of tackle a food truck wrap because I've never done that before. But I knew enough about graphic design to actually ask the right questions to get the right results. And it turned out amazing. I've got a lot of great feedback, and it's getting me more work in a place that I never thought I'd worked before. As far as what the art is going on.
All right, so tell us a little bit about growing up in St. Paul, Minnesota, the world of Prince.
Yes, Prince. We love our Prince in Minnesota. We do. We really do.
I'm a Prince fan.
Yeah. Yeah, and he really, molded the kind of music style that came out of the Twin Cities, and but that's for another podcast. I could talk about Minnesota music all day.
Is that right?
No, so growing up, my dad was a high school art teacher.
Oh,
and so
snap.
Yeah, so I always had pencils and crayons and clay and you name it, always just at my disposal, and it was a lot of fun just having that freedom as a kid to just color outside the lines, try things. I think that that was definitely a great starting point for me to kind of just be creative. There's pictures of me just, still in diapers, just coloring and painting and playing with clay and Play-Doh and everything, Legos. So that was a huge influence on my life. I even remember before I was going to school, on occasion my dad would take me with him to class, and I would just sit in the corner at a table just coloring and stuff. And I remember the other, the high school students or whatever talking to me and being nice to me and stuff as a kid, just drawing in the corner. So that's really where everything kind of began. That kind of fueled my love for cartoons. I mean, all kids tend to love cartoons, but I think I kind of took it a little further because I realized that they're drawn. Right. Somebody makes it.
Yes.
So growing up, I really enjoyed watching cartoons and just about anything that, aside from obviously the girly stuff, like the Strawberry Shortcake just didn't catch my attention, but, it ranged from, Disney and Bullwinkle and Looney Tunes. I just didn't have like a specific thing I liked. I liked it all. Especially the more funny stuff, like Tex Avery's my kind of hero as far as animation goes. So as I got older, growing up as in high school in the 80s, thought I was going to be a rock star, tour with Motley Crue, but that was quickly squashed and just kind of, got out of high school and did not know what I was going to do with my life.
So you didn't plan on going to art school or nothing?
I didn't. I actually remember a conversation with my mom and said, I don't want to be a professional artist because then I'm going to get burnt out and not want to draw anymore.
You you enjoyed it. You wanted to do it for fun.
Exactly. And we'll always see where that went.
But so you're in middle school. You're in high school. Do you have brothers and sisters?
I have an older sister. She does not draw.
Okay.
She doesn't do creative stuff. I would say she kind of got for lack of a better word, she got like the analytical brain to do the math and English, all that kind of stuff. Whereas, I don't think I ever passed Algebra 1. Who knows? I don't use it. So I eventually just started to kind of look around. What could I do? Who's going to pay me to draw?
Right.
And so at the time I had I have an uncle who's kind of the Vietnam vet motorcycle guy, had a lot of tattoos. He had a friend who was opening a shop, and that guy kind of brought me in to teach me. And so I was drawing and coloring Flash for him as he was kind of setting up the shop. And one day he taught me to solder needles. The next day, he taught me how the machine worked, and then he said, bring a buddy tomorrow. And I did my first tattoo, and it scared the hell out of me. And it was, I really just didn't have, I was not prepared. I mean, that's just too quick to throw someone, in with the sharks. So that scared me away from the tattoo industry. Later, I got a job working at a dental lab making crowns and bridges, and the only reason I took that is because it paid me 50 cents more an hour than Kmart for pushing carts. So there I met this guy who was kind of he was like I guess you'd call him a cartoonist. He did kind of one panel like greeting card kind of weird satire kind of comics, and he would make his own greeting cards and just sell them. And there's something he did on the side. And one day he came up to me at work and said, "Hey, I found this Minnesota Cartoonist League," and it was a bunch of local guys, and I was really surprised at how many professional comic book artists live in the Twin Cities. And it actually met at a bar that Charles Schultz lived upstairs from at one point.
Oh, wow.
And so the family had given the bar all these originals of the Peanuts drawings. And so all over I haven't been in there in ages, so I don't know if they're still there. But so it was kind of neat. I really got a chance to talk to all these different artists, and I'd bring my sketchbook in, and each month that they had this gathering, I would sit down with the different artists and say, "Here's what I'm doing. What can you teach me?" And so there was a month or two where I sat down with the guy that was from Japan that drew like the anime manga style. And so he kind of taught me about how they draw eyes and body shapes and proportions. And then I would meet with another guy that, did more like DC style comics. So I learned a lot, and I would go home, could have spent the whole month working on whatever they had taught me, and then I'd bring it back the next month and go, "Check it out. What do you think?" And then,
that's like art school.
Yeah, it was free art school. And so I did this for probably 2 years, just going in and getting all this advice from all these great artists, and they all had completely different styles. And one of the guys that I met there, he pulled me aside one day and said, "Hey, I know this guy who's an animator, and I know you're interested in animation. He's moving to the Twin Cities. He's going to open a studio," and he worked on Animaniacs, which was my favorite show.
Yeah.
So he put us in touch. We got together, started talking about animation, and I decided I wanted to go to school. So I packed up my stuff, moved to Florida, and was going to go to Ringling School of Art and Design.
Okay.
I got there. Things didn't go too well, so I got there and found a place to live, and then I went in to go sign up for school, and they were like, "Oh, because you're not a Florida resident, you're going to have to go to the neighboring city and go to their community college," and it was a big mess, so I just went home. Ended up apprenticing with this animator at his studio.
You went back to St. Paul?
Yeah, I went back to Minnesota after about 3 months in Florida. So called him up, went back to his studio like the week I got back, and he started me off as kind of the gopher. And usually when you start an art related job in a studio, you're you're going to get lunch, you're answering the phones, you're running supplies, you're getting the mail out.
Sure.
So I'd always run and do my thing, and then I'd run back and I'd stand over his shoulder and watch everything he was doing.
Yes.
And I'd say, "How do you do that? How do you do that? How do you do that?" And he would, I'm sure he got pissed off at me at one point, and he would just give me something and go, "This is already done, but take it over to that empty light table and trace it."
Yeah.
And the thing he was working on at the time was the introduction to Fox's Spider-Man that came out in '94. And so it was kind of this big, like everything morphed into something else. And so he handed me, "Here's a picture of Spidey. Go draw Spidey's webs on his costume." And so that was kind of my first taste of animation, was doing cleanups on Spider-Man.
Wow. Better than staying in school in Florida.
Yeah. So most of those kids never get a job there. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know anybody there. But so I had a great opportunity, and I stayed with him for a few years, and we worked on storyboards for Animaniacs that I got to help ink, and there was a show called Ultra Force. It was kind of like Superman, but it was a different character. It was like a kid that becomes this Superman-like character. I think they had a comic book of it. So we did storyboards for that. We did a Beatrix Potter CD-ROM. That's really dating myself. So, and then he kind of got me to a point where I was actually good enough to be hired as a freelance animator from him.